All right, welcome back to the channel, you guys. First of all, big apology. It's been a long time. I've gone over a month now without uploading a legitimate video. A couple shorts here and there, but that's about it. October was crazy busy. December is looking super busy. I'm hoping to get some content recorded this month in November. Today is November 12th, I think. And we've gotten really fortunate this year so far up until this point because we were able to ride into November. We're here in Minnesota. It's now gotten cold and it's snowing and icy and all the things that signal to me that it's time to put the Harley away for the winter. So in this video, I just thought it'd be really cool to show you my process, what I do to winterize this thing, and you guys can go by that or something else, whatever works for you. So this is what I do to put my bike away. We're just gonna kind of go through it. It's what I've done for several years and it's worked for me. This year is a little bit different because I have the Let's Roll lift and dolly. This is my first year with this thing. I'm really excited about it for storage. But in this video, since we're going to be changing all the fluids and everything, I'm supposed to be able to do all of that right on the dolly. So I'm going to experiment with that and see how that goes. So the first thing we're going to do is get the bike on the lift, and then we're going to go over kind of my process, okay? This is also a really great time just to give a quick shout out to my patrons and my YouTube members. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for sticking by even when I end up having a busy month and don't get any content out. I just really appreciate all you guys sticking around and supporting the channel, my content, and myself. You guys are a big help and I really do appreciate you. All right, so there we go. She's on the Let's Roll dolly now, and this is where she'll stay for the rest of the winter up on this. But if you guys aren't familiar with the dolly, I'll just show you real quick. Now I can pretty easily move this bike wherever I want to. I've got a really tiny garage, so I do need to be a little bit careful so I'm not banging it into things. But as far as storage purposes goes, this solves a couple things. One, it gets the bike up vertically. So the bike's always going to take up less space when it's vertical than when it's leaned over on the kickstand. But the other thing is I can get it right up against a wall. If I need to work on it or whatever, I can pull it out and work on it and kind of do my thing. So that's that part of it, the Let's Roll dolly. Now the bike is very dirty. If I would have had time, it's super hard to plan this winter stuff because we want to try to ride as long as we can, right? But season can change pretty quick around here. So you might be riding one day and the next day it's cold and crummy. The day I was gonna wash it, it ended up being rainy and cold. So it didn't work out. Rather than doing a really good job like I wanted to get this thing all nice and clean and shined up, we're gonna end up just doing kind of a spray down, rub down with some waterless cleaner, okay? And I'll show you a couple options you can go with. But that's my first step because I do not want to let all these nasty bugginess sit on the paint all winter long. The longer it sits here, the worse it's going to be to get off, and it's pretty bad for your paint. So I'm just going to kind of go over everything and deal with that. So you really have tons of options for detailing. Stuff like this you can just get at Walmart or a parts store, stuff like Meguiar's detailer. Turtle ice detailer. I've got a ton of this stuff. Meguiar's ceramic detailer. I really like this stuff, as well as the Turtle Wax ceramic wax detailer. I always wash the bike with ceramic wax now. I don't have a legit ceramic coat on here, but the ceramic wax, I really like the results that I see when I'm using this. And if I had to choose, I think personally I like the Meguiar's better than the Turtle, but that's just me. And then a couple other ones that might be a little bit more difficult to find is going to be Shineworks from Clockworks. This stuff is really good. And also Bug Slide. I've got some friends who swear by Bug Slide and it's basically all they'll use. So for this stuff, we're going to put it right on the buggy areas and we're gonna just let this sit for 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds. It got really bad the last time we went out. A good wash would have been so much better. I'm gonna go ahead and just hit the other side with the Shineworks. This stuff doesn't say to leave it on, but these bugs are on here pretty good. So I actually am just gonna let them soak a little bit. They do say with that bug slide too, the more you use it, the better results you get over time. It kind of builds up protective surface apparently. I don't know. I don't sell bug slides, so I'm not sure how it all works, but I've had pretty good luck with it. And like I said, I do have some friends that they swear by it. So I let it sit too long. Now it's dried up. So we're gonna hit it with the Shineworks just to get everything moistened up again. Okay, so you get the point, right? I'm gonna finish cleaning this up a little bit. Not gonna do a great job on it. Just get some of the bugs off of it. I can dust it a little bit later, but this is just kind of my first step for winterizing. So I'll be back when I'm finished up here. So this thing is still filthy. I'll finish cleaning it up more later. That would normally be my first step, is to get it nice and clean. But in an effort to save time and get this video finished, I'll clean it up some more later. So let's roll dolly. They say you're supposed to be able to do an oil change with the bike on the dolly. I think it's possible because a normal round oil pan does fit under there, as you could see. But I really like to use this one from Harley, so I don't know how to call this. I'm a little bit frustrated about it because I wanted to be able to do everything on the lift, but I also want to be able to use this oil pan. I think for the experiment, I'm going to have to use the old school oil catch pan and just go with the flow a little bit here, as frustrated as it makes me. Bummer. Okay, before we get any further, we're going to just start the bike and let it run for a little bit. We really want to get that oil warmed up and flowing well, so we can make sure we get it all drained out, get all that old gunky crap out of there. We got the oil heated up pretty good. It's like 127 degrees oil temp. Head temp's like 230 degrees now, so I think we're plenty warm. I'm gonna go ahead and drain the oil. Clean up the plug a little bit here. And then I'm actually gonna remove that O-ring. Just use a pick, kind of get in there, pull that off. It's probably all right, but just to be safe, we've got it in that kit, so we don't need to worry about it. So that's pretty well cleaned up now. Just open up our gasket kit, pull out a new O-ring. We're just going to slide that right on there. And now that's ready to go for when we're ready to put this all back together. Our oil is still draining nicely there, so we're going to go ahead and remove the oil filter next. So this is what I mean. This funnel just goes right underneath your oil filter like that, and then you can run the hose down like I have here, and it's going to run and drain. It's going to run and drain right into the oil catch pan here. We should be able to do it without losing much oil dripping all over the place here. I was wrong. Didn't get the funnel under there well enough. Whoops. Well, that works a lot better when the bike is leaned over on the kickstand. Interesting. Okay. Well, now we know that, I guess. So that leads me to my next tip. These are called pig mats. They're like an absorbent pad for oil. I love having these things in the garage, and usually I've got them down. If I would have had them in place, it would have saved us this mess. This is what happens in video sometimes, guys. We're not gonna cut this out, you know. I made a mistake. It's not a huge deal. I didn't get to show the device working properly, but that's all right. All right, well, that's the nice thing about having it on the dolly. You can adjust it when you need to clean up an oil spill a little bit. Let me show you one other thing, that if you don't have, these pig mats are a little bit spendy, so you might not want to always, I mean, if you can, always have them in your garage for sure. But a backup plan to that, we all know about Floor Dry, but Super Clean has this floor absorbent, which is great for oil spills as well. And it's a very lightweight, like almost like a sawdust material. A mouse got into this one, so I have a nice little sprinkle hole here. But it's basically just like a super absorbent, like almost like a sawdust, and it works really good. It's very absorbent, and I've used this in the driveway plenty of times when I've spilled oil out there, and I've been really happy with it. So really lightweight container, so it's not like you're lugging around a big bag of Floor Dry. This is really handy and convenient. It's got the handle and all that. So I'm not exactly sure what this stuff runs. They actually sent me this a while ago to use, so I've been using it, but I really like it. So if you want to give it a try and you can find it at your parts store or whatever, I recommend this or your pig mats. And if I can find them on Amazon, I'll drop affiliate links down in the description of the video as well. All right, well, this has been really interesting so far, using the Let's Roll dolly to do the service. So far, oil's been interesting, but we've made it work. Primary, I'm kind of wondering how that's going to go. Transmission should go pretty smooth, I think. I feel like the oil's about done draining. Let's go ahead and get the new oil filter put on, and then we'll get the drain plug back in, and we'll get the oil filled back up. We're going to go ahead and just screw this on by hand. Hand tighten, always hand tighten, and that's it. We don't want to tighten that down super tight and crush the gasket. I'm going to go ahead and reinsert the drain plug now with the new O-ring on it. So basically we're done. We just need to refill the oil now. We've got the new oil filter in. Oil drain plug is back in with the new O-ring. We're pretty much ready to go. Now, you're going to want to check your owner's manual. Always check your owner's manual. Don't go by any video, what I say, or anybody else. Check your owner's manual for your motorcycle and find out the actual capacity, so you know how much oil to add to your motorcycle. Pretty easy to find. You can just go to your index and actually look up capacities. In this case, it's under engine oil in mine. I don't know if you probably can't even see that, whatever. But under engine oil, capacity, in my manual, it is page 25. And we actually have all of the capacities here. We've got information for the battery, ignition timing, charging system, spark plug size, spark plug gap, torque. We've got all your information right in your Harley Davidson manual here. So engine oil with filter, we're looking at approximately 4 quarts. So that's where we want to be on that. Transmission is 1 quart. And when we do the primary, we're looking at 38 ounces. I don't ever want you guys to go by my exact instructions on stuff like this, because I'm not taking responsibility for your bike. That's on you, right? So this information is public information. You can find it. If you don't have a manual for your bike, you can find it online, like a legit manual. I promise. You're going to be able to find it. You're going to be all right, okay? So, move the bike a little bit more. And this is actually a legit Harley Davidson branded oil funnel as well. You won't have to go with Harley, but I mean, you can definitely just go to your auto parts store and get pretty much basically identical funnel, right? There is no difference between these two funnels other than the sticker and the color, but they're identical. I don't remember what either one of them cost, okay? So if you're already at Harley buying an oil filter and this other stuff, grab one of these. They're not that bad. If you're not, you might have one, but I like to have this one specifically for the Harley. I don't know why. Okay, so I've got the dipstick out now. I just cleaning it up a little bit so we got a fresh starting point here. One thing to note is I'm not going to start the bike to cycle the oil through. I'm not going to start this bike again all winter long. It's going to sit here on the battery tender and that's it. Because what we want to do here, the whole point to all of this, changing the oil at the end of the season rather than at the beginning, is because we don't want that old crappy oil sitting in here. It's got moisture, and moisture is going to wreak havoc on your engine, crankcase, oil pan, all that. So we warmed the bike up so we could flush all of that out, basically. Hopefully get it all drained out. So now we're putting fresh oil in here. It's not going to be started because warming the bike up in your garage in the winter, it doesn't get hot enough to burn off that condensation. It creates condensation, and then that condensation just sits in there, and that's not good for your motor. So that's the whole point. So I'm going to put in 4 quarts of oil and call it good. And then at the beginning of the year, before I start it, before I take it for a ride, I'm going to want to check that oil, run it, and then check it again to make sure we've got the correct amount of oil in here, basically. The other thing that we won't check until spring is obviously we'll be able to tell if the motorcycle is leaking, just cool. But I always like to check and make sure that once the oil's nice and warmed up, it's not leaking, because it gets obviously more runny when it's hot. So that'll be another thing to pay attention to in the spring. Your oil drain plug from your transmission is going to be easiest to access from the right side of your motorcycle. And this is the drain plug that points down, and it's actually in this hole in the frame on this one. I know you can't see that, I apologize, but it's the drain plug that points straight down. This transmission fluid is sludgy. It was definitely time for a transmission oil change. That kind of surprises me. That is nasty. I'm going to go ahead and remove the transmission dipstick here. That'll allow the rest of the oil to drain out of there real nice. Again, we're just going to remove the old O-ring because we've got the new kit. And then just continue cleaning up your drain plug nice while you're letting that drain. Alright, so once you're pretty satisfied with that and you think it's drained out pretty well, and you've got your oil drain plug all cleaned up nice, please don't forget to put a new O-ring back on here. That's going to be fairly important. We're using Spectro 6-speed, fully synthetic transmission fluid. This is what I used last time as well. Spectro stuff is good. If you don't have Spectro, or you can't get Spectro easily, sometimes it's kind of hard to find, I would just go with Harley or whatever. I mean, whatever you want. Normally I would use Harley Syn 3 because I can use the same oil in all 3 holes. But easy peasy. So now we've got the transmission fluid changed. That's all there is to it, folks. You can, if you weren't going to let the bike sit now, which I don't want to start it because I've already done my oil change and I don't want to create any moisture in there to sit for the winter. So if you're going to do this and then wanted to run it, you could start the bike, go through the flip through the gears, you know, start the bike, let it warm up for a little bit, switch through the gears, get that oil flowing, and you'd be good to go. As for me, this is going to be it till spring, so I'll just have to remember to go through the gears when I first started up in the spring of next year. Other than that, transmission fluid change, done. Super easy. Do it yourself. You're good to go. I actually want to be on the left side of the motorcycle for this, so I just need to move some things around. The other thing is you may have your bike on the Jiffy stand, which is fine. You can do that. Filling the primary on the Jiffy stand is a little bit tricky, but that's up to you. Whatever. This is my first year with the Let's Roll lift and dolly, so like I've got my Harley on the dolly right now, and I can kind of just move it around as I need to because she's on wheels. So I need to get to the left side of the motorcycle, so I'm just going to bring it this way a little bit so I have plenty of room to work. So basically, since it's on the lift, my bike is straight up and down, which is going to make filling the primary way easier than how I've done it in the past. You want to get your bike straight up and down. So if you don't have a lift, you can always get some 2x4s and pile them up underneath the Jiffy stand. Just be really careful when you're doing that, and make sure you don't leave your bike unattended. But that is possible to do it that way. So as you can see here, we have the bike on the Let's Roll dolly here, so it's nice and vertical. We're good to go there. The nut that we need to get to is right here. That's where we're going to drain from. I would normally use the nice oil pan from Harley Davidson, but sadly, I love this Let's Roll dolly, but the nice oil drain pan from Harley won't work with the Let's Roll dolly, so I'm just using this very cheap, very basic, very filthy oil pan that you can get from any parts store. And it's working fine. And then I'm just draining that into the one from Harley Davidson because that will actually hold all the capacity for all 3 holes, which is what we're doing today. So I'm going to go ahead and get into position here so we can start draining the gear oil from the primary. Now this is straight down, so as long as you've got something under here, it's not like the oil where it kind of shoots, let's see, kind of shoots forward or whatever. This one should obviously pour right out. So we're just going to loosen that until we can get to it with our fingers and try to do this pretty quick so you can get your fingers out of the way before they get too messy. Okay, so the gear oil doesn't look too bad. It's definitely not as nasty as the transmission fluid was. That was a bit embarrassing. I always like to check, like we've got a pretty good chunk of metal here. Like that's obviously not good. So that's something to look into. But everything else on here is really fine. And you're going to get that. That's not a big deal. This is a little concerning. This is actually a piece of something. Try to save that and ask somebody about it. If you guys have any thoughts on that, let me know. I'm just a guy that works on his bike in his garage, you guys. I'm not a professional. Definitely I like to help you guys out and kind of give you advice and things like that, but I never claim to be a professional at any of this. And, you know, kind of do things at your own risk. But I always figure if it's something I can do myself, I'm going to. So as long as that's draining, we're just cleaning up this drain plug a little bit better here. Clean the magnet off real well. And then just like we did on the oil and the transmission, we're going to go ahead and remove this O-ring. And replace it with a new one. Kind of try to get all the gunk out of the threads as best as you can. Make it look all nice. Grab your new O-ring and just roll that on. And now our drain plug is ready to get reinserted as soon as it's done draining. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and remove the bolts for the inspection cover here. Yep, T27. Oh. All right, so I ran into a little bit of a problem finishing up the primary oil change. I messed up this bolt here, stripped it out, so I need to be careful about that so I can remove it. It's the only bolt left on there, but I've drained the primary, so that's good to go. All I need to do is get that bolt out, replace it with a new one, put the new gasket on, fill the primary with fluid, and we're good to go. But for the sake of this video, all the fluids are changed, the bike's clean. Now there's really only a couple more things that I do to winterize this, and it'll be good to go. First thing is absolutely put it on a battery tender. We want to keep that battery good over the winter since it's not going to be started, it's not going to be run. So if we keep this plugged in all winter, when spring rolls around, we can be assured that the bike's going to start right up and we're going to be good to go. So it's pretty easy on this bike. It's got the plug-in right here, so it's nice and convenient. I can just plug this end into the bike, plug this end into the wall, obviously, and the bike's going to be good to go come spring. And then the final thing is really optional. And I don't always do this because, I mean, actually I'm always working on my bike during the winter because I've got projects and I've got a YouTube channel to run. I've got things that I need to do to this bike. This winter, by the way, little spoiler alert, we've got some things, hopefully doing different handlebars again. I'm gonna hopefully be getting rid of all the chrome parts and taking those to powder coat to get powder coated black. That's kind of my goal for this year. Hopefully suspension before spring, definitely hopefully by Sturgis, because we're going to Sturgis. So we've got some things planned for the winter, some projects and things like that. So there will be other things going on here, but if you choose to, you can just get a motorcycle cover, and that's going to help keep dust and stuff off of your bike. At the very least, I also have a Harley Davidson fuel tank cover and front fender cover, which is really nice to have just to help protect part of your bike from accidentally dropping things on it or things like that, whatever. But this is just a half cover from Nelson Rig, so that's an option. Or you can get the full dust covers from like Harley Davidson and stuff too, which are really nice for in the garage. That's going to protect everything really well, and you're going to be good to go there. But other than that, I've got it on the Let's Roll dolly, so I can kind of move it around where I need to. I'm going to be able to get it up against the wall. I'm going to be able to turn it around. I've got too much junk in the way right now to do it, but that's the really nice thing about having this dolly is I can really just move the bike around pretty effortlessly as long as there's not stuff to crash into, and I'll be able to kind of work around it and work on it when I need to and things like that. So that's kind of where we're at. That's what I do to winterize the bike. The other nice thing is being able to keep the tires off of the ground. So you're not going to have to worry about flat spots and things like that. Lots of good reasons to have this dolly. It just gets it up a little bit, which will help protect the tires and help make it easy to move around and things like that. So I'm really happy with this setup and the way things are going. But anyways, hopefully that gave you guys a little bit of direction or whatever to how you want to store your bike for the winter. If you don't have to store your bike, congratulations. Like, you live in a good state in a good warm climate, which I can definitely appreciate because we all get kind of cranky this time of year when we have to put the motorcycles away. Good on you for not having to. I'm sure you'll let us know in the comments below. Just rub it in. A little salt in the wound. That never hurt anybody. It makes us tough. Whatever. Anyway. So really that's going to do it for this one, you guys. Thank you very much for checking out this video. Hopefully, again, it gave you some direction or some ideas or whatever for storage if you have to store it. That's going to do it. Stay safe out there as always, and I will catch you next time. Peace.